Alright everybody, hello and welcome as always. I am Sean and this is In the Mixer as we continue our Football's Coming Home challenge with AFC Bournemouth. Now in the last episode it was our Christmas special. This one will be focusing a little bit more on the January transfer window. I was kind of thinking maybe we'd have a more hectic deadline day than perhaps we're actually going to have in this episode. But we have done some business, so let's go and have a look at who we've brought in now. Ryan Sessegnon is the first one. You guys haven't actually seen him in an episode yet, but he joined us on the 1st of January and has been up and down in the team so far. You can see his form over the last 5 isn't horrible. It's not great. He's set up a couple of goals. He's done some good things, gotten some decent positions. Gives us a decent balance, I think, on that left-hand side. Probably isn't setting the league on fire the way that Jordan Ibe was earlier on in the season, or the way that Jack Grealish has at times, but he's coming along nicely. Next one to come in for £9 million, absolute steal, is Danny Ings. He was unhappy at Liverpool. He wasn't on the transfer list yet, but you could tell he was kind of looking for a way out. We paid £3 million up front and then another £6 million over 3 payments to bring him across. He's on decent money a week. But we also had Jermaine Defoe go out with a 3-month injury, so I thought it was really important we got another striker that's ready at a Premier League level, that still has some sort of resale value, and at 25 years old and with 1 cap already, there is a chance that Danny Ings will get back into the England squad and set up. I would still say he's probably the 3rd choice striker at the moment, behind Ashley Barnes and Callum Wilson, but Wilson's form has faded a little bit over the holiday period. Our next one is Nick Pope. We actually went in for Nick Pope early in pre-season to try and bring him in as a 1st choice goalkeeper before we secured Jack Butland, and he didn't want a bar of it. He's obviously gotten upset with Burnley throughout the course of this season, playing behind Tom Heaton, so we got him relatively cheap. If we have a look at that deal, works out to be $10.5 million for the player, but it was only $1 million up front and then another $9.5 million over 3 payments. So we pay that one off gradually rather than taking a big hit. And the big one that you may have already noticed, $26 million, taking the previous transfer record from Ryan Sessegnon, is Harry Maguire, a hero of England's World Cup campaign, key component of Football's Coming Home. Fantastic stats and attributes across here. Still only 24, yet to get his first cap in the game. He does have a couple of little bonuses that may come back to bite us in the arse later on. But again, front loaded, $5 million up front, another $21 million across 3 payments over the next 12 months. So we're not crippling our finances, we're just kind of keeping them at a steady rate. But he is going to come in and be that 3rd centre back. Now, there were a couple of other people that I went after. I couldn't help myself. I went after Jack Wilshere. He does only have a couple months left on his contract. He does want quite a bit of money per week, which is unfortunate. We had a bid accepted for a relatively low amount, but he just wasn't interested at the time. So we're going to keep an eye on him and see how he goes at the end of his contract. But you can see Man City are interested in him as well. So if it comes down to that, we probably can't keep up with them financially. But I'd love to bring him in. He's almost a younger version of Andrew Sermon in that deep-lying playmaker role. And the other one that we looked at was Kieran Trippier. I bitched and moaned about us getting beaten and letting men in behind on the right-hand side for ages. He's only got 1 English cap in the save so far. However, he was fantastic throughout this last World Cup. If we try and integrate the wing-backs that Gareth Southgate used into our shape and formation in the next 12 months. Unfortunately, though, they just wanted an insane amount of money up front that we didn't necessarily have to work with. It would have been getting Kieran Trippier and no one else, or getting a few different players in and just holding off on Kieran Trippier and continuing to persevere with Smith and Francis as our right back options. But we have actually worked something that kind of brings Steve Cook into the equation as well. Looking at our most recent results, last episode we drew 1-1 with Man City, drew 2-2 with Burnley. We then got absolutely demolished by Manchester United in the game immediately after. Lindelof, Sanchez and Martins put them 3-0 up before we fought back a little bit with Grealish and Stanislas coming off the bench and having a good impact. But then as we pushed on looking for an equaliser, Anthony Martial with a pretty phenomenal goal actually. It was a long ball forward from Phil Jones. He took it down and then without it hitting the deck, he lobbed the keeper. So power to them. They're a good side. They're well and truly on top of the league at the moment and were too much for us even at home. We followed that up with a decent 2-0 win against Stoke, who were travelling nicely at that particular period of the season. Gave us a decent gap in 6th spot. We then beat Tranmere 2-0 in the FA Cup. We drew 0-0 with Newcastle, which was a game of missed chances for both sides. They had opportunities to win it where we were a bit fortunate. We had a couple of opportunities, particularly early in the game, that we didn't take. And then a 3-2 defeat to Liverpool. We did beat them 5-0 earlier on in the season when we played at Dean Court. Unfortunately, they were just too good away from home. Again, we went 3-0 down before we actually did anything. Goals to Pablo Piatti, Adam Lallana and Roberto Firmino put them 3-0 up. Ashley Barnes and Lewis Cook returning from injury, his first appearance for a good few months. Nearly looked like we were going to start bringing the game back in. Even though his rating is only 6.9, Ryan Sessegnon was really good in this game. And then a pretty straightforward 2-0 victory over Northampton Inns with his first goal for the club, Harry Maguire, new signing, also getting on the score sheet. Decent performances for a few people. Looks like Jack Grealish is kind of coming into form. I did drop Jordan Ibe for this game, but you should expect to see him back in the lineup today. Up against West Brom, they're currently 18th in the table. We have slipped to 8th, but if we look at the competition here, it's really, really tight. So a victory here can push us back up to 6th spot relatively quickly. We do need to start boosting our goal difference because you can see how tight it is with Tottenham and Everton both having superior goal difference at this stage. And I do think Crystal Palace, even though they're on 42 points now, are still within range of catching and getting into that 5th spot. So that's what we're aiming for and that's what we're going to work towards. We have made a couple of adjustments to our tactic. The only instruction that we've been asked to do by the board themselves is to retain possession. So I have added that in, and at the same time I've also changed to 2 ball-playing defenders at the back. Harry Maguire, ball-playing defender. Steve Cook, really good ball-playing defender. I do think it has hampered our performances a little bit, but I'm desperate to get a new contract. As soon as I have the offer from the board of a new contract, I'll try and get them to remove the club philosophy for retained possession, and we can get back to some of the not necessarily more direct, but faster paced and more mixed passing football that we had early on in the season when we were getting really good results. So the team for today, Jack Butland in goal, of course. I'm continuing with Tyrone Mings at left back. I think he's been probably one of our best performers in that back line over the last month. Cook and Maguire will continue to work on their partnership at centre back here. Francis on the right hand side. Ben Gibson, a summer signing from Middlesbrough, is the unfortunate one to look out, but he's still more than capable of playing as a ball-playing defender as well. I just don't think he's quite as good as Cook or Maguire at this stage. Lewis Cook and Andrew Sermon building a decent partnership in the midfield again after Lewis Cook was out for a few months with injury. I've left Sessegnon out because he has a knock, so Grealish will play on the left wing, Ibe on the right, and Barnes and Wilson up top, though Danny Ings is lurking in that frame if Wilson doesn't start getting into some decent form. But enough talking from me, let's get stuck straight into the game. All right, looking at the West Brom side here, Ben Foster in goal, who we also looked at during the off-season. Brunt and Iome as the fullbacks, Evans and Dawson as the centre-back partnership, Claudio Jakob, Jake Livermore as the midfield base, Phillips and Sturridge on the wings. Sturridge is also one that we should probably be keeping an eye on because he's probably likely to leave Liverpool at some point. James Morrison at the 10, Solomon Rondon up the top. Decent side, but definitely towards the bottom of this particular division, and I hope we get a decent win today. Assertively, I'm just going to say we owe West Brom after what happened in our last match. We must have lost that one against them, so hopefully we can go and belt the living shit out of them today. It's a beautiful day in Melbourne today, which probably doesn't matter much to my international audience, but it looks like it's a beautiful day at Dean Court as well. Is this just going to be the beginning highlight, or do we have something here? Barnes with a strike from about 20 yards out, and it goes behind. So now that we've added these extra players, it's going to be really interesting trying to manage getting different players different amounts of time in the actual team. We haven't really had to deal with that because we just had like a really decent 11, maybe 12 or 13 players, and of course some injured players that were coming in and out of the side, particularly in the first month. We've actually got decent depth. There's a few players competing for individual positions, and it's based entirely on their form, whether they're starting or not. Callum Wilson's one I'm definitely looking at now that Ings has joined. Grealish and Ibe need to perform at a high level, or Sessegnon and Pure will be back in there. We do still have Junior Stanislas about. I've held on to him just in case something else happens. Gibson, of course, at centre-back is decent. If Butland has a couple of howlers and is struggling a little bit, Nick Pope is a more than capable replacement. It's just a level of depth that I didn't think we were really going to get in the first season, maybe in the first season and a half before we started adding more people during winter transfer windows. There's ball here coming across. Francis is going to tidy up. We do also have the option of playing Cook at right back and bringing Gibson on if that right back position continues to be a problem. Wilson's in behind and he's found the finish. Commentated that horribly because my train of thought went elsewhere. Lovely weighted pass in by Lewis Cook. Finds Wilson, and just as we said, if he doesn't find form, there is someone breathing down his neck. So hopefully the ink signing's a bit of incentive for him. Lovely pass from Lewis Cook. He's been absolutely fantastic when he's been fit, and the keeper does poorly, doesn't even dive for it, and a left-footed strike low and past him. Sees us move back up into 6th spot, which I do think is where we belong. Tottenham are currently 2-0 down to Burnley, who are just the most yo-yo team I think I've seen in a series for a long, long time. They play really, really well and get some amazing results, as we saw in our 6-1 defeat to them. And then in other games, they are absolutely useless. But they're doing us a favour today. Jakob comes forward. Morrison looks to play a ball in. Jakob again finds Phillips. Great tackle from Harry Maguire. He pushes the ball forward to Barnes. Flicks it out now to Wilson. Do we have numbers forward? Barnes is in the middle. Can Wilson find him? He does. Backstick, and Ashley Barnes, leading scorer so far this season. That combination between Wilson and Barnes, if it can keep going for like another, maybe, what have we got? 14 more games this season, potentially. It's just going to be a breeze getting through and into these European places at the first time of asking, really. Lovely back post ball, and Barnes with the finish. Ben Foster is not having a great game in goal for West Brom. But they do say 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline to be leading at half-time, because there can be complacency there. But knowing this group and seeing the results elsewhere, as we're looking at them now, kind of makes me feel a little bit better about it. I'm going to passionately say, very happy with the way things are going. And hopefully, nobody switches off. So West Brom kick off the second half now. Ball over, long ball forward. Maguire, he's just phenomenal out of the air. He just tied his shit like that up. Should call him the sweeper. And no, that's not me telling you I'm going to be playing Harry Maguire as a libero, even though it is super tempting to do. Getting towards the hour mark now. We do have 3 players on yellow cards, which is a bit of a concern. Sermon's not playing fantastically. We do also have Steve Cook, but his score's all right. Might take off Simon Francis. Mings now with the throw-in, finds Lewis Cook. Splits it out to Sermon. He's got one more man on. Goes out to Jordan here. Can he whip a ball in? He does. Backstick, and Jack Grealish arrives at the far post. He has been unfortunate, Jack Grealish. With the arrival of Sessegnon, I've kept giving him opportunities, but maybe all he needed was that little window, that little tight calf that Ryan Sessegnon has picked up to get back in the team and back on the score sheet again. Great ball here from Jordan Ibe. I think he's up there towards the top of the league in terms of assists so far this season, and it's a good far post header from Jack Grealish, who isn't the biggest man in the world, so credit to him. Let's go and have a look at some of the subs we can make here. Lowest scores at the moment is 6.9 for Sermon, and he's on a yellow card. There isn't really anyone I can bring off for him, or bring on for him. So what I might do is I'll take off Cook for Ben Gibson, just to keep Ben Gibson in the good books, and just because of those yellow cards. And I'll bring on Adam Smith for Simon Francis as well. And I'll hold off on the last sub. We will make that one towards the end of the game and just see how everyone's tracking, or in case there's an injury, or in case Andrew Sermon does something stupid and gets himself sent off. But 3-0 to the good. It's a pretty great way to start this particular episode, particularly when the last one was a little bit boring with back-to-back draws, albeit back-to-back comebacks. And I'd really love to see us start picking up some momentum and some points so that we can get a bit of a gap between the teams in 7th and 8th behind us. It is super tight, and Everton and Tottenham both have pretty fantastic squads. Liverpool as well, after beating us, they're kind of back in that equation a little bit. They're about 3 points behind, but it'd only take, 1 or 2 heavy defeats with our goal difference to really bring them back into the equation as well. They've got some decent build-up play here. Morrison has the ball now. Looks for a reverse pass to Sturridge. Back to Morrison, and Butland with a decent save. It's hard to tell if that one was actually going in or if it was going wide, but he did everything he could by putting his hand on it. Sturridge now. Oh, Maguire with a desperation tackle on the line. Keeps our clean sheet intact. That is absolutely phenomenal from him. What I might do is make one more adjustment. There's only 10 minutes remaining. Jack Grealish can play in the middle. He's not the best at it. We did have a week where Cook was injured, Sermon was suspended. Oh, it was against Man United. I think it actually contributed to us losing, where Grealish played in centre of midfield because of just the lack of depth that we had. And that's also about the time that I started looking at Jack Wilshere as being a viable option. Assertively, I have faith in you. We'll bring on Pugh on the left. Grealish can come into the middle. And it's just purely so that none of these yellow cards become red cards and we make it a really anxious or nervous game to be playing in. So we are in January now. It is usually the period where new contracts get offered to managers in the game. I did note that I'm kind of on the lookout for a new one, so fingers crossed that comes in a new episode or off screen where we're playing. We're coming forward here again. Lewis Cook gets tackled. It's coming out to Pugh. Hangs the ball up back stick, and Jordan Ibe, oh, it's a decent save from Ben Foster. Ben Hoster's some Romanian third division keeper, I'm sure of it. Jordan with the initial strike. It is a fantastic save, to be fair to him, from virtually point blank. But unfortunately, Ashley Barnes is just lurking in the area as that defensive forward. So often as he always does, he's in the right place at the right time, and he smashes that one into the roof of the net. And that is 4-0. A fantastic performance from us. 3 minutes to be added on. I'd be more than happy if the next highlight is just the end of the game. Butland with the ball now. He plays it forward, and the referee calls full time. 4-0 at home. That, I think, might be our biggest home win, unless the Liverpool game was at home. I can't actually remember. 12 shots to 7, 9 on target, which is great. 75% conversion ratio of shots to shots on target. 11 apiece for fouls, 3 yellow cards for us, 52% possession. Even though we do have that retained possession instruction on, I haven't actually seen that big a movement in the possession stats. So that is something that we need to keep an eye on. Jump into the dressing room, passionately tell everybody, I'm very happy with the result and the way that you played. They've all responded really well, which is great. Barnes lifts Bournemouth into Europa League reckoning. I nearly said Barcelona, Bornalona. Maybe if we get some of our short passing game going, we can talk about that, but it's probably a little bit further down the track. Jump above Tottenham, jump above Everton to 6th in the Premier League, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, the other thing I wanted to do in this episode, but probably aren't going to be able to, is go through the transfer deadline day. But it doesn't look like we have the ability to go to the board and ask them for any further funds. So we're limited in what we can do. We're currently already over our wage budget. So we'll probably just off screen go through and try and cut another 30,000 a week on wages and see if any of the players that are wanted within our squad. Simon Francis, Steve Cook seem to be the only two right now, but you never know. Someone may come in for another player on deadline day. If they do, I'll jump back in. But if not, we'll just jump straight into the Leicester game in a moment. Okay, and just like that, we're up to the Leicester game. There wasn't a tremendous amount that happened on transfer deadline day. There was one heartbreaking piece of information. If we look at the work we've done, we have gotten rid of a lot of players over that period that were taking up wage. I kind of cleared out the under-23s. I just thought, what's the point of having these youngsters here taking up wages? Let's get rid of them. They're never going to play first-team football here anyway. So a lot of them have moved on, either for frees or for relatively marginal fees. So look, it's not ideal. It would have been good to get cash for a few of them, particularly the likes of Burak Begovic, Arta, who else is there? Nathan Arke left on a free as well. But it was more, they were earning like 40, 50 grand a week, and we just don't have the finances to continue paying people those sort of wages if they're never going to play. And under the rules and limitations of the football's coming home idea and just playing English talent, they weren't ever going to get a game here again. So they've all moved on. The heartbreaking one is that Kieran Trippier, about 10 hours remaining on transfer deadline day, was listed by Tottenham. I'm not sure if he asked to leave or if they're getting rid of him because they've got Serge Aurier and Walker's Peter coming through. But we just couldn't find a way to get together I think they wanted 6 million up front and then 9 million across 3 payments with 50% of a future fee was enough to get him. But we just couldn't pull the money together in time. I did try and actually offer Junior Stanislas to clubs. I tried to offer Adam Smith to clubs for about 5 million each to try and bring in some sort of revenue so that we could bring him in. But it wasn't meant to be. There just wasn't enough time left in the day. And unfortunately, we have missed out on Kieran Trippier. But he and Jack Wilshere are the number one targets, I think, for our summer recruitment drive as we get forward. But regardless, we have to push on. This will be our squad for the rest of the season, which it's pretty good. I'm not actually that upset with where we're at. These were more wants than actually needs. So we're going to go with Butland in goal, Mings and Francis as the two fullbacks here. Playing at home, Francis is a little bit safer. He is decent with the ball at his feet as well. We're going to go with Cook and Maguire as our central defensive partnership. Ben Gibson again, unlucky to miss out, but Maguire's playing against his former club, so he's either going to have a fantastic game and we're going to ride that to a win, or he's going to be absolutely horrific and we're screwed. I'm going to go with Grealish after scoring in the last game, Ibe on the other wing, whose form has picked up a little bit, which is good to see. Cook and Sermon in the midfield, and Wilson and Barnes up top. Though Danny Ings, I continue wanting to give him opportunities in this team, but I'm stopped by the fact that Wilson and Barnes keep scoring. So a lot could happen. Sessegnon will probably come off the bench as well after getting over his tight calf in the last game. But let's get stuck in. I don't actually know if Leicester will be playing the 4-4-2 that was so successful under Ranieri, or if I think it's still Claude Puel in this game, has something else up his sleeve that he's going to be looking to use. It's a little bit different. They've got Schmeichel in goal, of course. Amati is hiding behind the head. Chilwell on the left, who we did look at in January, but they want way too much money for. Dragovic and Veltman as the centre-back partnerships. Abora and James in midfield. Fraser, who they signed for us, will play as an inverted winger on the right-hand side. Damari Gray on the left. Wampy up front, and Jamie Vardy starting the party. Let's go into our team talk here and just say calmly... Oh, actually... yeah, calmly. I know a lot of you were keen to happen last time we played Leicester. I guess that's the good side of having 9 defeats so far this year. We've got a whole bunch of team talks already set up and in the chamber. So game kicks off now. If we can get outside the first 15 minutes without going a goal down, I will see it as being relatively successful. We are on an attacking duty, and unfortunately Leicester are kind of set up on a decent counter-attacking one, so they probably aren't a decent side for us to be trying to attack against at home, but I am what I am. I'd rather lose 3-2 than win a game 1-0. No, I don't. That's a lie. That's a horrible cliche lie. I'd rather win the game. I'd rather win the game than lose it. Vardy's gotten in behind now. He's on a dead angle. Butland comes out, makes himself being big, and then Mings hooks it away. So you can see, even with the draw here, we do kind of consolidate our spot in 6th a little bit. Everton do have a game in hand, and it doesn't look like Crystal Palace are playing today either. They are still 3 points ahead of us, but if we can get 3 points here, move up to 41, we really start to put the pressure on them. They haven't actually picked up any points in the last 3 or 4 games, which is really good to see, which means 5th spot is very much still on the radar. Vardy's gotten in behind again. It's a very direct ball, and he finds the finish this time. Just a long ball over the top from Amadi. Vardy runs off the shoulder, finds the finish, sees us drop down to 7th, so we aren't doing too horribly, but still, they're not doing that well this season, are Leicester? And it's a good finish, to be fair. Butland comes out well, but Vardy still finds a way, as he usually does. So, 15 minutes in, I jinxed us by talking about it again. Vardy had one opportunity before he actually found his goal as well that we should have been more wary of. No one's really jumping out at us as taking control of the game. It looks like Jordan Ibe's doing okay. Sermon with a free kick now, though. Can we get it in? Maguire was in the area, but they're on the counter here now. Fraser, one to watch out for. I'm sure they want to play that little message about him scoring against his former club and biting the hand that feeds. That seems to happen in every game. Abora now. Back to James. James forward to Wampi, who seems to be a decent player. He's played a crossfield ball to Fraser, and Fraser with the strike, but thankfully Butland gets out well and claws that one around the post. James is going to take the corner now. Finds Gray at the top. It's a first-time volley, and I think that one was relatively high, though it wasn't that far wide. You can see here we've had more shots. We have somehow had less possession, but they've had 4 shots, 3 on target. They are ruthlessly efficient on the counter, and we need to be aware of it. Jordan's coming forward now, though. Dragovic tackles him, recovers the ball, looks for a long one forward, finds Gray. Gray to Abora. It's a ball over the top of Vardy again. This is killing us, and it's a good save from Butland, but our defensive line is way too high. What I might actually do is just go to standard until half-time so that we're a little bit less aggressive and a little bit less wide. Finds Gray again at the top of the box. Is he going to find a strike? He hangs the ball up back post, and Francis heads away. Looks like Jordan's going to get there first. Can he release Ashley Barnes, who was 1v1, but he didn't turn and go to carry the ball. He's moved towards the corner. Francis tidies up now. Finds Sermon. Sermon forward towards Barnes. It's headed away to Vardy on halfway. They are countering very quickly, which is a concern. Fraser coming forward now. Finds Vardy again. Vardy rounds the keeper and finds the finish. So even... we haven't actually gone to standard yet. Really disappointing. Can we pull a goal back before half-time, or do I fire a rocket? It's Vardy bouncing the ball forward here. It's a good run from him, and then Fraser finds him, and it's almost as simple as a 1-2. Looks like Maguire missed his header there, and Vardy makes him pay. Rounds the keeper nicely. It would have seemed good to see Butland dive at it, but yeah, we can proceed with our tactical changes. Not a great result for us, and it brings Leicester up to 9th spot, so it brings them back into this equation for European football, so it's a massive game for them. Schmeichel with a long ball forward. Francis should win it, but he doesn't. Abora does. With James again, who is just running the show back there. It's a good tackle from Cook to Abora again. Amadi to James. Back to Abora. This decent possession from Leicester. Concerning possession. Vardy's on a hat-trick, and thankfully Butland comes out and claims that one. They are playing some very good football. 5 minutes remaining in the half. If we get to half-time, I'll bring out the hairdryer. Dry all their hair with it. Then I'm going to yell at them. And it looks like that is half-time. Dressing room, aggressive. That was absolute bullshit. Where's your passion? Do you even want to win this match? And then I'm going to go to the midfield because they didn't respond that well. Looking for you to make the difference. We at least got something out of Jack Grealish. They've got about 10 minutes, some of these players, to prove that they're going to get back into this game. Otherwise, they will be coming straight off. Ings is on the bench. Sessegnon's on the bench. Looks like Tyrone Mings is struggling. Daniels is on the bench as well. I'll make 3 subs. I don't give a shit. I will absolutely do that. Ball forward now. Butland comes out and claims well. Just these early passes or these sort of long balls in towards Vardy, and he's absolutely destroying us. Though we do have Wilson forward now. Cook releases Grealish, and Grealish probably could have just put that one into the far post. If he had have just passed it on target, it would have been in. All right, 52 minutes gone. Let's pause the game. Let's look at what we're going to do here. It looks like Barnes isn't having the best game, but I think he's our best finisher. I'm going to go with Wilson coming off for Ings, despite my better judgment. Grealish is going to come off for Sessegnon, and Mings is really struggling on that left-hand side. So even though we've got a couple of people on yellow cards, I'm going to go with Daniels coming on at left back, and I'm going to passionately say, I'm looking for you to make the difference. Danny Ings has switched off entirely, which is fucking horrendous. And I've actually remembered this time to hit play. We're going for broke. We're either going to score 3 goals and win this game, or we're going to concede another 3 and lose by 5. James with the ball now. They've got the ball. Wampy skips into the box, and Butland with a decent save gets it around the post. And what's concerning is that they've now got a corner, and I've just made 3 subs. But thankfully, we got away with it a little bit, and the game carries on. Chilwell with the ball now. Finds James again. It's a long one forward. Francis cuts it out. Comes to Jordan. Back inside to Sermon. Francis to Jordan again. He's got Barnes up the line. Finds him now. He goes back to Francis again. At least we're retaining possession. To Cook. Can we find the switch? Ings now with the ball. Finds a decent ball outright to Jordan. Hangs the ball up back stick. Oh, and Sessegnon, I thought for a moment, was going to poke that one home coming off the bench, but Schmeichel's equal to it, and he holds. So there is no rebound. Half an hour remaining. Let's use a shout. Tell everybody to get forward. See if that makes any difference whatsoever. Wampy with the ball now. Plays it to Francis. Barnes with the ball. Looks for Cook. Got players out on the left-hand side. We had a 2v2 there if they'd have gone looking for it. Cook now looks for Ings. He's got an overlapping run from Sessegnon. Instead, he comes back inside to Cook. Plays a neck-high ball forward for Barnes to try and head back. Thankfully, he does retain possession. Francis now on the overlap. Gets a ball top of the box to Cook. It's a decent strike, only just over. Always tough to tell the depth and height on those things in the 2D match engine, but that one looked like it was going in for a split second there. We've had 14 shots, only 4 of them on target though. They've had 10 and 7 on target. We've brought possession back a little bit as well. Ryan Fraser comes off after getting an assist for Jamie Vardy for the second goal. It's Albrighton on now on the right wing. Got another highlight here. It's Schmeichel taking. So we've had a fair few goal kicks. Long ball forward to him now. Abora brings it down. Forward to Gray. Plays a high ball in midfield. And Didi tidies up. Albrighton, who's just come off the bench, we only spoke about. Vardy's gotten in behind again. And that's for Jamie Vardy's hat-trick. Oh, we are getting torn apart. The Jamie Vardy party is in full effect. And it's just, they've all come from similar areas, like getting the ball in here. That's where Amadi played the first ball for, and Albrighton just over the top. And the referee has called full time. What a performance from Jamie Vardy. It does look like Sessegnon came off the bench and was our best player, actually, with a 7.6 and 4 dribbles. Given that he only played for about 30 minutes, that's pretty bloody good. Let's go into the dressing room now and aggressively say, that wasn't good enough. No excuses. We're playing at home. Like, we should be better than that. If you're going to take any sort of positive from a 3-0 defeat at home, at least everyone's responded really well. And Jamie Vardy, he's very, very good. Leicester profit from a wasteful Bournemouth, so they've kind of echoed a lot of what we saw in the stats themselves. 16 shots to 11, 52% possession to 48. But Jamie Vardy found his finishes, whereas Barnes, Wilson and Ings, when he came on, really didn't create enough in terms of finished product. So what we might do is have a look at our schedule here for the next episode. We do have... I'm actually really tempted. I think this Tottenham game is going to be absolutely massive for us. So what I might do is go with Tottenham and Leeds in the next episode. So rather than skipping ahead to the end of February, just do the 2 early February games. If we're successful in FA Cup, there probably will be another FA Cup tie in Feb. And then that closes us off for a couple of weeks. Obviously this spell here, Arsenal, Chelsea, Everton in a row is going to be massive. And then finishing the season away to Man City, who beat us earlier on. Who we drew with early in the year, and Crystal Palace, who we're trying to catch in 5th spot. Probably somewhere along those lines for the last 3 episodes of the season. We are getting into squeaky bum time, as Bournemouth Cherry legend Harry Redknapp famously once said. But that'll be content for a future episode. As always, I've been Sean. This is In the Mixer. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to be kept up to date on future videos, or alternatively you can follow In the Mixer FM on Twitter. Hope you're enjoying the Cherry soundtrack, whichever song I've picked to play for this particular episode. But I'll see you guys again in the Mixer.